Hello and welcome to the Ops On podcast on LGBTQ plus people. And today I'm joined by Smocket, Arun, Hebe, B, and Larry and Michael. Hello all. Today we're going to be going through everyone in this podcast, and everyone should have a question, or well, most people will have a question to ask to the group, and then we'll pass it around. Just a disclaimer at the start of today's podcast that not everyone's views are actually true that are said in this. We're merely just trying to make a good podcast. Thank you and welcome. And I'd like to start off with Mr. Michael O'Shaughnessy. Thank you for joining us today, Michael. Start us off with your question, Michael.
Well, Edward, I'm going to ask this question to the rest of the group. Do you think it is more important to protect... what do you think is more important? Someone's identity or someone else's opinion about it?
Yeah, it's a good question and quite topical for the time. Does anyone have any answers for that one? Arun, please enlighten us.
I mean, I think it's someone's identity, and I think it's a fairly simple answer, because I think you should just not care about what other people think. So, yeah. Yes,
that's true, but surely one could say that identity is essentially what other people think of you. Is your identity.
I think it should be someone's identity that's more important than what people think about it, because your identity is what you think of yourself, and to be confident you have to claim your own identity. So I don't think you should care about what other people think about it.
Yeah, that's a fair point you make, but surely identity is only valid when other people are affected by it and have thoughts on it. What do you think about that, Arun?
Well, I mean, that's true, but why can't you say that if you say, oh, I want to have this certain identity, it doesn't make it void if other people don't believe in that identity. I'm going to pass this on to Michael to sort of finish this off.
Oh, that's my line, but yeah.
Right, Ed, I was just going to slightly disagree with what you said. You can disagree with someone's identity, but you can't invalidate it. Their identity is it is how they see themselves, it's how they express themselves. Your identity is not defined by other people's perception or opinion about that identity. That's why I was drawing a distinction between the identity and the opinion about the identity.
Yes, it is a fair point you make, but I think there might be a bit of a blurry line between some people based on opinion about whether identity is about what people think about you or what you think about yourself. And I think that is quite a long discussion, which we don't have time for today. And yes, Larry, please enlighten us with your points.
Yeah, I think identity is something that you are, and also something that you think of yourself as. So your identity is fixed. It can't really be changed unless you feel that you are somehow changing your identity. So I think other people's opinions are their opinions on your identity rather than what defines your identity. So I think they're two separate matters. So obviously your identity is obviously going to be more important than what other people think of your identity. It's because it's what defines what you are rather than what other people think of you.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So out of interest, Larry, just one quick question, yes or no. Can you put on a fake identity?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's quite an interesting point to make about identity when talking about LGBTQ plus as well. We've all sort of gone down the route of identity rather than what you are. Well, it can be both, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's it's a good place to start on LGBTQ plus. I heard before the podcast started that Aaron had a very good question, and I'd like to share that with the group. Please do, Aaron.
Okay, so my question is, what are people's thoughts on the commercialization of LGBTQI plus people? Like the way that certain businesses will sort of say, oh, we accept LGBTQI plus people, rather than, I would expect that to be a standard, so I want to see what people's thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Michael, please.
Well, obviously, I think in principle, it's a good idea. It's good for a business to say, we support you, we think you're valid, because much as it would be great if that was just the standard for everything and that was just an accepted notion, unfortunately, it's not the case. However, actions speak a lot louder than words, and just saying we support you without doing anything to support the community is essentially meaningless.
Yes, that's a fair point, but surely couldn't one say that big companies such as, I don't know, Thames Water, couldn't they not really have any role at all that they could possibly play in supporting LGBTQ plus?
Could I just clarify something?
Sorry, go on, Aaron.
What I mean by this is sort of like companies like, I guess, people that will have involvement in this sort of stuff, sort of like a hotel company or, you know, a ski resort or something, you know, stuff that's more, I guess, people involving. I mean, Thames Water, I guess you could say, is people involving, but it's not really directly involving with the people, it's just supplying them water, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you could still make the argument that, like, for example, the suicide rate for transgender people is very high. So what if Thames Water just said, well, because we support transgender people, we're going to donate money to suicide prevention clinics so that we can support these people when they're going through hard times.
Yes, and I think once you make that point, you get into quite a long and lengthy debate about what Thames Water's deep duties really are. Is their duty really to just provide water, or is it to serve the people as more of a broader statement? Larry, please, you've had your hand up for a while.
So I have 2 points to make on this issue. So firstly, I think when companies say, oh, we support LGBTQ people, I think what they should be instead be saying is that I don't really think they need to say this, because I think they should just say we support and we would like able-bodied people, just all people, to be able to join us. So that includes LGBTQ people and or even other minorities such as BAME communities and people like that. And I think they shouldn't be trying to commercialize this fact that they're trying to say, oh, we need to have LGBTQ people in our workforce. They should be instead saying we want to give everyone a chance of working for us. And also I have another point is that I think with businesses, they're not really trying to, I think their motives aren't trying to support LGBTQ communities. They might be doing things that are on the lines of supporting LGBTQ communities, such as donating to charities and stuff. But I think their main aim is trying to earn money, essentially, because that's what a business does. And I think the reason they support LGBTQ communities is to make people like them, really. So so if they have LGBTQ workers in their workforce and they see that, oh, Thames Water has just donated a load of money to whatever charity supports something like that, they would be quite happy, and that they would be happily working for the Thames Water or something like that. And other LGBTQ people who see Thames Water donating money to LGBTQ charities would have a quite positive outlook on the company as a whole. So I think it's all like a way to generate support and to make money a lot easier. Yeah,
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that, about essentially how big companies use LGBTQ plus to make
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
a kind of like an ad campaign in a
yes,
way too.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
B, you had your hand up first, please.
I think the reason why companies explicitly say we welcome LGBTQ communities is because it makes them feel safe and that they aren't going to get discriminated against because if they work there, which I suppose shouldn't need to be said if rights were equal and if they felt safe anyway. But I feel like it's not because people would expect them to just be homophobic and sexist, but because to make them feel more safe in working in that environment.
Yeah, yes, and yeah. But I think a good point to make is that maybe companies only explicitly say that they support LGBTQ plus communities because they're the only community that's actually discriminated against in today's society. And yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly.
Hebe, please. You're muted.
I think she's crashed.
Well, in the meantime, Aaron, please.
Oh, I was going to say, it's not... LGBTQ people are not the only people that are discriminated against in today's society. I mean, there are a lot of communities
I
that
wasn't saying they were. All I was saying was they are discriminated against, so it's...
No, as in, because Ed made a point, which was like, oh, they're one of the main... They're the only people that...
Yeah, okay.
I'd say that they're discriminated a lot against relative to other communities. It's like they're not discriminated against like as much as they used to be, but like they're still more discriminated against than other communities.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, it's... I think a lot of people in today's society will try and preach and say that LGBTQ plus is the newest, really, of the races, as you could somehow maybe describe them as. And
I strongly disagree
might
against
mean
that.
that of course they're going to be discriminated against.
I mean, if you look back at history, like the Greeks weren't exactly the straightest people out there, were they? But
the Romans.
yeah, like it was homophobia is actually far more recent than LGBTQ plus. But there is often, I'm going to acknowledge that point, Ed. There is often a kind of belief that LGBTQ plus is quite new, and I suppose that's partly because during the 1970s, 1980s, there was the AIDS pandemic, which meant that a lot of LGBTQ plus people died. So the majority of LGBTQ plus people are younger. So I think that's kind of where that perception of it being a new thing or something only for younger generations has come from, because there just aren't that many older LGBTQ plus people.
Yes, it's a good point. Although I think I would disagree personally that homophobia is a new concept. I think it's always been around, but that
it's certainly not new.
It seems to be
less recent.
More around at the moment because of its media attention that it's had in recent years. Larry,
I disagree with that slightly. I think in my personal opinion, I think homophobia was more prevalent in the past than in the present. Because if you look back, for example, at ancient texts such as the Bible or the Quran, for example, in the Bible, in the book of Leviticus, it says that homosexuality is an abomination, and that people who are homosexual should be killed / stoned.
Not quite, Larry. The actual quote is "Man shall not lie with man," but it was actually "Man shall not lie with boy." But when it was translated in the 16th century, it was mistranslated to "Man shall not lie with man."
Sorry, I'm not an expert on the Bible.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it's just
you get what I mean.
Slightly more recent than when the Bible was actually.
Yeah, we get the gist though.
Yeah. But I think there's been a lot done to decrease homophobia in the recent years, such as many gay rights groups and human rights, the UN, etc. I think for that reason, as society gradually views homophobia as like a thing that you shouldn't do, the media, I think people get a lot more annoyed when someone is homophobic now than if someone was homophobic, like, for example, 100 years ago. So whenever someone does a homophobic hate crime, it gets a lot of media coverage because people think it's a lot worse than what people thought it was 100 years ago. So people are naturally gonna look at it a lot more and say things about it a lot more than they would have done if it was done 100 years ago.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of societal influence on the media at the moment. So
because
for example,
the media wants to like kind of like please certain people.
Yes,
so,
exactly. So the media they'll put a story on about a gay man being killed or assaulted rather than just a cis straight white male being assaulted.
Yeah, because when a cis straight white man gets killed, it's not as like outstanding, should I say, as a gay man or a lesbian woman getting killed. That tends to get a lot more coverage than, for example, when a cis white straight man gets killed, because it's considered by society to be a lot more taboo than killing a cis white straight male.
Yeah, I must move on as a lot of people have their hands up. B, please, first.
The reason why you may think that it's sort of a recently modern thing, which is acceptable, is because people feel a lot more comfortable and free to express their true sexuality and identity because they hope that they won't get judged as much because it is becoming much more of a norm for society, which is a very good thing. But still, some people aren't quite as up to date and accepting, which is, obviously what homophobia and sexism and racism is. But it's people being, it's not that homosexuality is very new, but it's people are expressing themselves more and making it more public, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think
do you think that LGBTQ plus type behaviours, do you think they've always been around, or do you think it's more of a sort of because other people do it, I'll do it? B.
I think people feel if they have certain like feelings or urges, then they will feel more free to express them and to sort of explore them because of other people. So I think definitely because more people are coming out and being free, as well as like pride as well, that I think is helping a lot of people. Well, I mean, like, I don't know, helping a lot of people, but it's making them more free and comfortable to express themselves for who they really are.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that's echoed around by a lot of LGBTQ plus charities and groups around the world, I suppose. Let's try Hebe again. Is your mic working?
I just wanted to add on to B and Larry's earlier point, is that I don't think homophobia is like any less around nowadays. I just think because being, gay or whatever is more accepted nowadays, then so because that's more accepted, being homophobic is like more kind of looked down upon. So I guess it's kind of more of a standout thing, I guess you could say, because it's not like it's kind of gone away or come out more nowadays. It's just more looked down upon than it was in the past. So, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Arun, please enlighten us.
I just wanted to make clear that sort of if if an LGBTQ person died and a cis straight man died, obviously the media will portray the cis straight man's death, as a bigger sort of thing. But that doesn't make the other way around, vice versa. But that doesn't make them, sort of more or less important. They're both equally as important. And so I feel like you're saying, it's sort of course it would gain more coverage because the media, they're there to make money. That's their purpose. They're a business. So yeah, just sort of echoing what you're already saying.
Yeah. So do you think it's wrong of the media to essentially put more stories about the assaults of LGBTQ plus people because essentially it has the sympathy point from the viewers? Aaron?
I don't think it's wrong, because obviously they're there to make money. And actually, no, it is wrong. It's morally, it's incorrect. But I think when you're there to make money, it's not the correct thing to do, but I don't think they should exactly be slashed for it, even though I think it should stop. I mean, you can't say that. I feel like this is going to be quite controversial, but if you're going to make money, you're going to need to do some controversial stuff, and so I think you can't really blame them, but I think it's still not the right thing to do, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Larry, please enlighten us.
I think there's like this, like just like Aaron said, that a death of a violent death of a homosexual person is a lot more outrageous than the murder of a straight person. So of course, if the media wants to make money, they're gonna have to, of course, report the thing that's like a lot more outrageous. But of course, I think what they should try to do is just report like the murders of straight people a lot more often. Like they don't have to like report the deaths of homosexual people any less than they already do, but I think they should try to like cover the other side of the story as well. For example, straight people getting killed, or white people getting killed, or things like that.
Yeah, Hebe, you wanted to make a point. Come on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't think it's like the media is trying to report the, homosexual deaths more. I just think it's reported if it is a murder because of homophobia. For example, like if a gay person got killed by someone that hates them because they're gay, that is where it becomes a story, because that's like kind of completely outrageous in today's society. So I don't think they're doing it to get more attention or like more money. I just think it's when it's from like a hate crime kind of perspective, it's where it becomes more of a big deal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, sorry. Statistically, way more gay people are killed because of their sexuality than straight people are killed because of theirs. Like, look at the number of countries where it's illegal to be gay, then look at the number of countries where it's illegal to be straight.
I was going to say.
Yeah, can I just elaborate on that? I think it's because there was never a historic prejudice against straight people in most societies. Because straight people is like what gives birth to the next generation and stuff. So there's definitely not possible to be like a bad conception towards like straight people. So straight discrimination has never really been very prevalent. And I think because there's still a lot of people there there's like more people who discriminate against gay people than there are people who discriminate against straight people. So obviously the hate crime against gay people will be higher than the hate crime against straight people, because not that many people hate straight people because they're straight. It's not really been a thing for like the past few centuries.
Yeah, I think that's quite a prominent point in LGBTQ groups, that they're essentially the suppressed throughout history, as well as from feminism, maybe from last week, that we can make the same point. B, please, one last point.
Adding on to what he said, it's also much more in the media and the news, because trying to educate people and say this is wrong. Obviously, all murder is wrong, but it's more if it's about their sexuality or how they want to be identified as, that is wrong. So they're trying to educate people and say this is not okay, and also show the young generations that maybe haven't been affected by their parents or siblings or their relatives to sort of make them have their own opinions about it. Also, another question about transgender men and women in like changing rooms and public toilets and things, because we had a conversation about this a while ago on the group chat about how some people were feeling uncomfortable if they went into a changing room at a swimming pool and there was a transgender woman in there. But personally, I think it's ultimately their decision and wherever they feel comfortable being. But yeah, has anyone got any other points on that?
I think with the toilet issue, I think it should be, and also this applies to other like places in society, such as for example in sport, you know, like men and women are split into different categories, and you get transgender men who like identify themselves as women who go and like smash the women's records and like stuff like that. That happens quite a lot, and I think with toilets and like sport and stuff, I think it should be based off your biological gender rather than what you identify as, because that's a lot more accurate on. Yeah,
I think that would be a sensible way to go around in terms of sport.
Just wanted to say, isn't it biological sex rather than biological gender?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's my bad.
Wow, well done for being accurate. Hebe.
I was just going to say the thing that you mentioned about sports, and basically everything, even the toilet and changing room thing. I think there's kind of bigger issues, I guess, in terms of this topic than just, you know, a world record being broken. You know, I think that kind of doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of what the actual issue is, if you know what I mean. So I don't think that should really be the main like focus or argument that you're
that was just
like,
an
obviously
example.
that isn't your main thing. Yeah. But I just think there's definitely kind of more like bigger things that can be focused on rather than that. But yeah.
This podcast has been going on for quite a while, so I think we should try and bring it to a bit of a closure. So just to sort of wrap things up, in a couple of sentences, do you think that being straight is still the norm, and do you think that's right? I suppose we'll just go through people. Larry.
I think it's up to the individual really, because on a broader view with society, homosexuality is becoming a lot more prevalent and people are like accepting it a lot more than they used to be doing. So I think being gay and being like bisexual is also considered the norm nowadays, I'd say, as well as being straight. Although a lot more people identify themselves as straight, being gay or bisexual is still very accepted in the general society, and I think that's how things should be. It's who you like, what you like, and I think that's up to you. There shouldn't really be a correct answer to what you like. So
yeah. Hebe, what's your take on the question?
I don't really think there should be a norm. I mean, I think being straight is still kind of the norm, as is, I guess you could say, being like straight white male, you know. But I don't think there should really be a norm. I think you should just be allowed to kind of express yourself as how you want, and you know, basically do what you want as long as you're not hurting. That's all there should be, in my opinion.
Yeah. How about you, B?
I agree with Hebe. There shouldn't be a specified, norm that you have to apply to, and whether that's being heteronormative or bisexual or gay or anything. But I also think part of the LGBTQ community, there are different aspects of that are accepted more in society, and different. Also, I think people aren't educated well enough on it. Like, personally, me, I didn't know when someone said to me, "Oh, I'm pansexual," I didn't know what that meant till not very long ago, and so I think schools should educate their children on it more as well. But that's kind of another point. But yeah.
Yeah, I have another point. It's I think with the whole like sexual orientation debate, I think there shouldn't be so many. I think it shouldn't be categorized and politicized like the way it is. I think it should be. I think people shouldn't like. I think people is like it's just what you like really. It's like if you prefer oranges or bananas. It's not really like.
Sorry, politicized in what sense, Larry?
Sorry?
Politicized in what sense? You said that the
So
debate
it's
is
like-
politicized.
With both sides really. Some people view that like being straight is a norm, or it's like if you come out as gay or something, then people go like, oh, I'm so happy for you or something. But I think it should be a lot more simpler in a way. So it's just really just what you like. It shouldn't be like so politicized in the way.
Right, I understand what you're saying about people coming out, but how is that political?
I mean, not really political, but just like it's like
It's,
I don't know how to describe it. It's like
maybe
exaggerated a lot.
The way of describing it is sort of prioritized by society, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. It's just like people take it very seriously. I think it shouldn't be taken as seriously. It should just be what you like, and that's absolutely fine. It's no one else's business.
Taken too seriously in what sense?
Like, just people like always like try to fit you into categories, like if you're straight, if you're lesbian, if you're bi or something like that. But like I think it should just be up to you, really. People shouldn't like talk about it so seriously. And
I think you could make the argument, though, surely, that after so many years of oppression, so many horrific things done, that being proud of your identity is important, and it's fine to express yourself.
Yeah, of course it's fine to express yourself if that's what you prefer, but like...
Are you trying to say that there's pressure to do that?
What do you mean, pressure to do what?
Well, you seem to be saying that people shouldn't take it as seriously as they do, and then you just said that it was fine if people wanted to take it seriously. So are you saying that there's pressure?
I think it's fine if people want to express themselves.
It's sort of a big thing when people come out.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It should really be as normal as someone being
as dramatized.
Someone being gay.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of people are gay, a lot of people are bi. So I think that's just something people are, and it shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be like so dramatic when someone comes out as gay, or if someone's like, yeah, it's just like what people like. So I think.
Well, exactly, but coming out is more about acknowledging what your identity is. Being gay isn't a big thing in and of itself, but discovering what your identity is, what your sexuality is quite a big personal moment, surely.
I think there are arguments to be made for both sides. I really must rush it, as we've been going on for a very long time and no one's going to possibly make it to this point in the video. But I think there are points to be made on both sides about being proud of your identity, but also I think we've already experienced in our own schools that our friends, people just say like, oh, I think he's gay. And maybe that shouldn't be the normal.
Yeah, I think from my point, if everyone just takes it like, if everyone just stops like dramatizing it so much, I think there would be a lot less like discrimination in your sense, like of, oh, he's gay, oh my days, it's such a big deal or something like that.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Let's have one last point from B and then we'll finish.
I was just going to say, the reason why, as you say, dramatized is because of the horror that people go through that are of the LGBTQ community. And I think that is the reason why it's made such a big deal about, because many people don't accept people for who they are. But anyway, we got to stop because otherwise it's going to be too long. But yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, B. Some very good points have been made in today's podcast. Thank you all for listening. If any of you have ever made it this far, hello, Mr. Hall. I know you've made it this far because you're the only person who does. So yes, thank you for listening. If you've got any more ideas, please do put it in the comments. And thank you for listening, and goodbye.